This car is frustrating me. And the reason for that isn't because something broken. It's because we have to wait 750 miles before we can beat on this car. Since we boosted the car, I've never felt the car to its full potential because the clutch has always been slipping. We are turned up to 12 pounds of boost right now on E85 with fairly aggressive timing, probably setting right around 350 wheel. And I have a 14 PSI map sitting in my email that I need to load up on the car, but I'm not gonna do that until we are fully broken in with this clutch, because I know if I do that, if I put it on the car, there's no way I'll just not beat on the car. So it's frustrating me. It's really frustrating knowing this car is gonna be so fun and haul ass. Like actually haul ass for an FRS, but we can't do that for like a month at least. Anyways, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to get some stuff painted. We have a not a significant amount, a fair amount of parts for the STI hatch project that we need to get resprayed. So we have a rear bumper, we have a front fender. Is that all that we're painting? Oh yeah, and then the wing as well. I want to do a full spray on the wing. Quick little update on the rear bumper. Remember all those pinholes I was talking about? A lot of them we filled in with primer, but they completely cracked out. So that's not gonna work. It being Saturday, the paint shops near me are all closed. So I just ran into a auto parts store. So I'm hoping this is gonna work. Glazing and spot putty. Repair scratches, stone chips, other minor damage, ultra smooth finish, ready to use. So my plan is to find anything like this. We're gonna have to like somehow get that primer out of there. Honestly, I could probably just grab a knife and kind of peel it out. But little stuff like that, I'm gonna fill with this glaze. This is honestly kind of like a test bumper for me, or a test piece. I'm still so new to any sort of body work or paint work that I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm definitely headed in the right direction. So I'm excited to use this stuff. It's only $10, so if it don't work, not a big deal. But I do want to get some paint laid down today. The paint booth is all here. We were waiting on the blowers for the booth, and those showed up finally after a week. Felt like a week of waiting around. They finally showed up, and they're honestly way smaller than I had expected. It's not a very big booth. It's not a booth big enough to handle a whole entire car, or especially like the truck. 10 feet by 17 feet. Maybe smaller. Reason I bought a small one for now, I have yet to do a full respray on a car. I want 2 booths later on down the road. So for now I just bought the small one, and whenever I buy a big one, if I'm ever gonna do a full respray, I'm gonna turn the small one into Cerakote and powder coat, and it'd be super easy to blow up and pull back down. That's gonna help a lot with getting overspray on the cars, which has always been a problem for me. First thing I wanna get done is some glaze on the rear bumper, and then I'll probably air up the booth, set it all up. I'm really excited to see how it is and see how it works. We got that glazing putty on, that spray, that rear bumper. While that stuff sets up and cures, let's go ahead and prep out this wing for paint. So the whole thing needs to be scuffed up. There's a few areas that need to be flattened out, like this right here. Not sure what's going on. There's some pinhole. There's actually a lot of pinholes in this thing. She may need some primer, some filler primer, or maybe some glazing putty. We'll figure that out later. For now, I'm just gonna run through probably 400 grit wet on the DA and get this whole thing flattened out, smoothed up, and then we can figure out what to do with this kind of stuff. So we went ahead, got the entire wing sanded out. Took about an hour, hour and a half. This glazing putty said it dries in 10 to 15 minutes, but it is not drying. Watch this. Just smears around. I don't really know what's going on with that glazing stuff, but that did not work out for us. I ran into AutoZone and I found some Bondo glazing and spot putty, and I did a little test area right here and it dried in like 10 minutes. So I went ahead and knocked out all the other areas. This sat for maybe a total of 2 hours and it didn't dry, and this dried in like 10 minutes like it should. So I don't know if this stuff was bad. Either way, it was like $9, not too concerned, but this stuff for me worked a lot better. I'm gonna get this bumper fully finished up. We have to figure out what we're doing on this wing. Right up in here, there's some really deep scratches or almost even cracking in this material, which is like an ABS plastic type of material. I think the best option for that would be filler primer. And then on the wing blade itself, there was some pinholes that we have to get filled in. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and shoot some filler primer on this stuff right now. Let it dry, get it sanded out. Other than that, the wing is pretty much ready to go. So we got the wing all sanded down. There was some pretty deep stuff on the blade, so I went ahead and threw a little bit of that putty in there, sanded it smooth. I'm gonna do one more coat of primer on the wing, and then here's how the bumper turned out with that putty. That stuff helped out a lot. I'm really glad I picked some up. So I'm gonna do one more coat of primer on this guy as well, of filler primer, and then we should be able to sand everything smooth, and technically everything should be ready. I was having some fisheye issues on the wing. I always do, no matter what, with ABS plastic. So I'm trying to work around that. I have some Por 15 cleaner degreaser diluted with the water in this guy here that I scuffed. I went and re-cleaned everything with the Por 15 and a red scuff pad. So let's see if it happens again. I really want to get that fisheye issue figured out before we start doing any sort of epoxy or base. Those are the fisheye issues I'm talking about. I know it has to do with the oils that are on the ABS plastic, but you guys saw how much sanding I did on this. So, and the whole time I was sanding with the DA was with the Por 15 as well. Man, it's better, but it's still there. So yeah, we got to figure that out. Okay, there's no way we're gonna spray base or clear or probably even epoxy tonight. And the reason for that is because I wanna paint outside and keep all the vehicles inside, and we'll have the booth set up outside, but if it's dark, can't see, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. I'm still gonna paint probably later in this video. I'll just do it in the morning, as long as we can get this fisheye thing figured out. So what I've tried is a few different things. The last thing I tried is just literally using purple power degreaser and a scuff pad. I cleaned one part up, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to spray epoxy on that part. I know what I did, and I forget what part it was on. What the hell was it? The last ABS part I sprayed, I know I had to like pretty much grind the whole entire part down. Well, I don't know why I can't think of what that was, but I think I sanded it down with like 120 grit, and then I went ahead and sprayed filler primer and then base and clear, which I don't want to do that. I don't think that's the right way to do it. If anyone has any other ideas, drop a comment down in the comment section below. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try to shoot one part with epoxy real quick, and if it sticks with no fish eyes, we should be good to go. I'll just sand everything down with the red scuff pad. Damn, someone's ripping. And the, holy hell, and the purple power degreaser. So apparently that's all we had to do, was use some really strong degreaser. This is epoxy primer, and it didn't open up at all. I don't see any fisheyes anywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe this off real quick with lacquer thinner so we don't have to sand all that off. But yeah, that should do the trick. So the bumper is all ready to go. That fender that we have to spray is all ready to go. That guy's not getting paint. These 4 pieces here, I'm gonna go ahead, scuff up, clean up with degreaser and the red scuff pad. Technically, we should be ready after that to go ahead, epoxy base and clear. All right, guys, it's the next morning. We're gonna go ahead and set up the paint booth outside. Really excited for this. The actual blow up booth is in this box here. I don't know how they fit it in such a tiny freaking box. And then in this box here are the 2 blowers that we have. So this thing's really small on the inside. We can't even, I doubt we could even fit all the parts that we need to spray in here comfortably. I don't know why I didn't look into it more. I didn't even realize that there's like 2 separate rooms. If this separate room wasn't here, it'd make life a lot easier. And we could always cut it out, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of space in here, which kind of sucks. Should have bought a bigger one, a much bigger one. So that booth was way too small. We could have sprayed out maybe 1 fender inside that thing, so it's kind of useless, to be honest. So I went ahead, got everything set up in the shop again. I'm not gonna worry about masking off the walls. I'm just gonna wet the floor, and then we can go ahead and get all these parts sprayed out. So the process is gonna be to clean them up all with waxing grease remover, and then we're gonna lay down some epoxy primer, which is this stuff here, MP 170 epoxy primer gray. We're gonna let that cure. I think it's gotta dry for about an hour, and then after that we can do the base. Probably gonna be 2, maybe 3 coats of base, and then 2 coats of clear. That's the plan. I really hope all the ABS plastic parts turn out good. We are gonna go ahead and spray this section of the front bumper, just this little area right here that sits in the engine bay, because we had to fix those holes. So I figured might as well spray that out at the same time. Kind of sucks we weren't able to use the booth that we waited weeks for, but I should have known better. I should have looked into it more. It said on the listing the internal space, and it's like 4 feet by 6 feet internal space. So 24 square feet to spray out all this stuff. Wasn't really gonna happen. Everything is cleaned up with wax and grease remover. Hit all the parts with a tack rag, slap down some adhesion promoter on the ABS plastic pieces. Epoxy primer is mixed up, 15-minute induction time, so in about 10 minutes, we can start laying down some epoxy. So we're all sprayed out with the epoxy. Definitely the best it's ever sprayed out for me. which is exciting. I tried a few new techniques, as you can see over there on that box, with spray patterns and widths and whatnot. And I think I got that gun set up pretty good with air pressure and spray, like how wide it is, how wide the fan is and all that. So I'm really excited with how flat it laid down, because the flatter this is, the flatter the base is going to be, the flatter the clear will be, so the better overall the whole project is going to look. There was a few fish eyes that came through. That's on the bottom of the blade, so I'm not too concerned with it. If that was on the top, I'd be pretty upset, but the top turned out perfect. And I think that's the only thing I noticed as far as fish eyes go. So that is pretty exciting. Bumper turned out good. Everything turned out really, really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this flash off for about 30 minutes. I don't wanna rush it. The biggest pain with painting in the shop is always trying to keep the floor wet, because obviously you cannot get water on the parts and it mists up kind of when you're spraying the floor. So that's been a pain. And the main reason I do that is just so we don't get paint stuck to the floor. It also does help keep dust down. But yeah, the main reason is I don't want this floor painted, because that's not cool. While we're waiting for all that to flash off, let's go ahead and mix up the base. We already got the gun cleaned out. I noticed if you clean it immediately, it cleans much easier. So yeah, let's grab some base and get her mixed up. So we had some weird cracking going on. It's definitely in the fiberglass, and the black was it wasn't filling into it like the epoxy primer was. So what I did is just basically just pulled the gun farther apart, or farther away from the panel, I mean, and kind of mixed it in like that. I went over it again after it flashed off, and then it filled. But it's super weird, all that cracking. I don't know if you can see it right now. It'll definitely be noticeable when we lay down the clear though, which really freaking sucks. I always get really impatient in between coats of base, and especially in between coats of clear. And you have to let everything flash off, or else you kind of trap all the solvents in the paint. Pretty sure that's what happened on the truck bed when we had a ton of issues going on and had to redo it like 3 times. So I always force myself now just to walk outside and freaking drink some water and look at the cars that we don't have space for. We've slapped down 2 coats of base. There's this new channel I've been watching. The channel is called Paint Society. It's literally all about painting, automotive paint stuff. And he always says coverage plus 1 coat. So that's what we're gonna do. 2 coats definitely covered. I wanna do 1 last coat. Wait probably at least 30 minutes, maybe even longer, 45 minutes, and then 2 coats of clear. The thing I wanna try with clear is, and I've never really done it, is the first coat, put on quite a bit lighter, and then it kind of acts apparently as like a glue for the second coat. And then the second coat, you can spray it on much thicker, and it's gonna lay out really, really flat and not run off like if you would just hose down the first coat. So I'm gonna try that. The base laid down really, really flat, so I'm nervous but excited for the clear, because the clear we can't mess up. All right, we got our clear mixed up. This is just Omni Plus MC161 high solids urethane clear. Nothing special. I'm not good enough to use expensive paint yet. When I get really good, I'll use really high-end paint. But for now, this shit does the trick. 2:1 ratio of 161 to the catalyst, or the hardener, which is 167. All right, we got everything sprayed out. Definitely the best and most comfortable, confident, overall the best paint job that I've done. Only issue is there is quite a bit of dirt in the paint. For example, here's the rear bumper. If you zoom in, you can start seeing some dirt here and there, which kind of sucks, but that was kind of out of my control. I did everything I possibly could to keep as much dirt out as possible. Overall though, everything laid out as flat as I've ever laid it. This bumper turned out amazing. That little bit of cracking that we had really sucks, but there's nothing we can do about it now. So bumper turned out good. Very minimal fisheyes in the wing. It was just on the bottom of the blade. Nothing else had any fisheyes. Fender turned out good. And then of course we just did a little bit on that front bumper. I'm not gonna pull them outside yet until a few hours or maybe even tomorrow. So if you guys wanna see what they look like out in the sun, go check out tomorrow's video. I got a lot of stuff to do. This video you're watching right now is gonna be up on YouTube in like an hour, so I gotta go home and edit. I think I'm gonna buy a really large paint booth. Same concept as the one we tried earlier, but just like the biggest one that they possibly make, just so we can fit a ton of parts in there or a whole car. Probably not my truck because it's very big and I'm probably never gonna paint it, but to do a whole car would be so sick. And I think we're almost to that stage, or we may be to that stage in that challenge of a whole freaking car. That'd be insane. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Peace out, my friends. I'll see you guys tomorrow.